Welcome to Kaks Bar and Podcast, Canada's first podcast bar. What that means is you can come here for food, you can come here for drinks, you can also come here and record a podcast. Come on down, we're located in downtown Calgary, Alberta in the Beltline area. See you soon. And we're rolling. I'm here today with Federica Fiorotto.
Yes.
Is that how you pronounce the last name?
Fiorotto, but you did good.
Okay, okay. But we'll call her Fed here because it's her name for short. So I met Fed a couple of weeks ago, maybe. I think she's a marketer, and currently she works for Alberta Boot, but she also has her own marketing agency, if you will. Is that what you would call it, or
agency, company, anything? Yeah, let's call it agency. There's thousands.
Okay,
now,
yeah. But her specialty is marketing. Like she basically explains, like her world is marketing. She has a 9-to-5 in marketing as well, but in between she does marketing work, and that's her wheelhouse. That's her passion. She's from Italy, and she actually has an interesting, like we were discussing a little bit beforehand, but she really wants to, and I want to hear it too. She wants to touch on her immigration journey and explain the ups and downs, the unstableness of the immigration process, what happened during the pandemic. And then she also wants to share with us awesome things about Italy, and the province where she's from specifically. And then there's a little bit of a, what do you call, like, I don't want to use the word spirituality, but you believe in essentially like life is what we want, and we can create the life we want. So you're about like manifestation and things of that nature, or?
Yeah, I know that manifestation now has almost like a negative connotation, like you're shallow if you're into manifestation.
Oh, really?
But I think it's super cool. I think it's actually, if you put your mind to it, and it's not just like, oh, I'm dreaming of this, I want it to happen. You have to put the work in. Right.
Yeah. No, it's like, I mean, I heard this quote. It says like, God will, direct, like, but God will steer, but you have to row. If you're on a boat, like, kind of like, say you're asking for a destination in life, like I want this, I want that. It's like the life finds a way to show you how to, like, that's the direction you go, and then but it's up to you to put in the work.
100%.
So it's like this synergy thing I noticed. But take me from the beginning here. Like you're from Italy.
I'm from Italy. Yes, I came to Canada in 2018, straight from Venice to Calgary, which is usually the biggest, like, why did you move from Venice to Calgary? Yeah. I know. That's always the
explain. Yeah, like how did that? I mean, we're honored to hear. Obviously, I'm born and raised in Calgary, so I'm a lifelong Calgarian. So I know this city's awesome. But yeah, how did you choose Calgary? Why?
It was there you go. It was God showing me my path, if you want to put it that way, or life. It's I've always wanted to move to the country. I just knew that Canada was like a constant in my life. It kept on coming up, and I knew I wanted to make it here to see how it was. No plans, to be honest.
So it was a vacation when you first came here? Or?
At first, even just like growing up, since I was a teen, before my university days, I wanted to come as, call it like a tourist, maybe spend a month and see. The conception of Canada in Europe, and like I know it's generic, but is Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal.
No, that's not generic at all. Like those are, almost everyone only knows those cities when they think of Canada,
right? It's just like your territory is twice Europe, but in the middle for everybody's like, there's nothing. It's empty.
Okay.
And so for me as well, I was like, oh, I'll see if I want to go to Vancouver, Toronto, or Montreal. I applied, and that's why I believe that life guides you through things, because I tried to apply for my visa 2 years probably before I actually got the actual one. And something was always wrong. Like the connection would just like break down out of nowhere. I would click the wrong link, and I was just like not probably in the right state of mind to make it happen. And then one day, it was the middle of February, it was almost like actually, 6 years ago. I woke up and I was like, I need to apply for this visa just out of nowhere. Just something called it.
Like just a strong yearning all of a sudden. Okay.
You can say that. Maybe my life wasn't like super fulfilling. I just finished my university days. I had graduated. Maybe I was a little lost, but something called it. I was
What
like,
did you study in school?
I'm a translator.
Translate. Okay.
I studied mediation and translation in Spanish, French, English, and Italian.
Holy shit. So you know all Spanish, French, English, and Italian.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So you're fluent in 4 languages?
Yeah.
That's incredible. Like can
Even
you read and write in all 4 or?
I can read and write. I can read, write,
Holy
and
shit.
speak. I think I can read and write better than speaking because I've been speaking English for so long now that French and Spanish, I can speak it fluently when there's another speaker with me. But if you ask me, like, can you tell me something in French? My brain would just like, not do that.
Okay.
But
so
yeah.
it's fluent enough, but not fluent like I don't know, like someone who that is their only language that they know and they're always living in those territories. Like
if 6 years ago I spoke a much better French than my French right now, but I guess it goes with where you're at. But yeah, when I was at university, I was studying in Padova, which is very close to Venice. I moved to Belgium for almost a year, so it was in my blood to just like study languages, and there was a lot of like communication, sociology, so something that then builds up the marketing interest. So I had started working in a PR company, so very much focused on the communication side. Woke up one day, decided that it was time for a visa. Everything went perfect, and the message from the Canadian government was, you'll hear from us basically in 4 to 6 months, which is something that you already knew. You assume that it's not going to take a blink of an eye. It's going to take time. So I was like, okay, great. We'll see what happens. I did it. In 6 months, if I don't want to move, we shall see. And I applied for something that is called International Experience Canada, which is a program that gives you a working visa. And it's, at least it was, I don't know if it changed now, but for people from 18 to 35 years old. So it was just like, you can get 6 months or a year. I think it's a year now it depends country to country, to go and work in Canada. It's an open work permit. You can go anywhere in the country and just work for 6 months, which is something very popular, like with Australians. Like you go to Banff, that's what happens. In 48 hours, I was approved for the visa. And I was like, whoa, this was supposed to take 4 months. How did it happen in 48 hours?
Right.
And I started researching. I'm like, okay, let's say that I'm going in a month, 2 months. We'll see when, because it lasts a year. So you have a year of time to decide when to go. And I was very much focused on Montreal, to be honest, because I spoke French. It's a very European city, if you want. And it was very pretty. I love aesthetically pleasing stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, let's see how that goes. I studied a little bit. I did a lot of research. It's not an easy decision. I think for the way I am too, I just go deep into understanding everything from the province to the language, the currency.
You probably know more about Montreal than Montreal people do.
I know more about Calgary than Calgary people for all the research I did. But basically, I got to a conclusion that Montreal wasn't the right choice because Quebec required an extra visa at the time if you were coming from Italy. So it was almost like an extra step that you had to take. And I was a little bit in a rush, let's put it that way. I started looking at, the most probably common search, like best cities in Canada and like quality of life.
Yeah.
And this Calgary keeps them coming up. And I'm
like, really? Yeah.
What's Calgary? Like, I'm sorry. But
Did you even know what Alberta was?
Not really.
No? Okay, yeah. All right.
But I brought it up to my dad and he's like, yeah, the Winter Olympics, they were in Calgary. I'm like, okay, so
nice.
Some people know about that.
That was like in 88.
Yeah. He knew about it.
Yeah.
So, but it was
funny.
Was it
89?
I think it was 88.
Okay, all right. I think the Calgary Flames won the Stanley Cup in 89.
We're going to leave now.
Man, yeah. Anyway, okay, but go on. Yeah, keep going. Yeah, I'm a terrible Calgary. I should know these things. Okay, but keep going. Sorry. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, let's see Calgary. What is this? And everything that started to come up actually made sense. Again, we're talking about 2018, so things have changed a little bit, but cost of life was a lot cheaper.
Yep.
Still, like, it's cheaper than other provinces, but in 2018, there was even like a bigger gap.
Yeah.
Cost of life, minimum wage, like the rational things, like the things that you would think of if you're trying to build a new life.
Yeah.
And then, Banff, nature. There's a lot going on here. But also Calgary wasn't like the big city. Yes, it's a big city.
We're known as a big small town.
Yes, exactly. And I didn't understand how important that was for me until I actually made it here. Because I don't think I would have been made for like at Toronto, to be honest.
All right.
I like when things are close enough for your reach.
Where in Italy are you from?
It's a city called Padova. So
Okay.
it's not...
What's the population for that?
I think I'm going to butcher this probably. City plus outskirts, because we have little towns. Like it's kind of like your neighbors
Greater
here.
areas. Yeah.
I would say probably is the same as Calgary. We're like
1 million?
1.2 maybe.
Okay, that's
Oh,
big.
it's either like Padova and...
Yeah. Okay, so it's still a pretty big...
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you're from a small town in Italy.
Yeah,
you know?
there's not just... Yeah, I know. I know that a lot of times, like, oh, are you from like that 500 people and goats around you? Like, no, actually, no. There's a pretty big population.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of kind of like the way that the cities are structured. Like in Italy, you can go in Europe actually for kilometers, miles, and there's stuff around you. There's people. Here, you're kind of like just in this like big circle, and then there's nothing around you.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. A lot of suburbs over here. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why I never even realized how many people there were like between my city and like the cities nearby, because it's so spread out. Like Italy is like, I think, again, I'm not 1,000% sure, but I think we're like 65 million, 66 million in a country that fits...
That's crazy,
three
man.
times in Alberta, I think.
Yeah, well, Canada's what, 33 million or 34? I mean, it's like, I know we're losing a whole million. That's a whole lot of people, but yeah, ballpark or something like that. And then you guys got like double our population. And anyway.
In such a tiny
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
So every like rational choice brought me to Calgary, and then Calgary started to come up a lot more often. There were like those, if you want to call them like signs, that you could just like pick or let it go. That's, again, it goes with the manifestation thing. You can see your signs or maybe just ignore them. The last one was that I was looking at flights. I'm like, you know what? Let's see how much is it going to cost me. And there was this flight, which usually from Italy to here, there wasn't Rome, Calgary at that time. It was Venice to Frankfurt or Amsterdam, and then here to Calgary. And it was like, usually it's like 800 euros, 400 euros. Like we're talking about like quite a bit. Most of all, I was 23 when I moved here. So it seemed like a very big amount to me.
Yeah.
And there was this flight for 257 euros. And I'm like, how is this even possible?
Yeah.
So I just honestly booked it. And that was it. I just clicked booked.
And you don't know anyone here, nothing. Just...
I went to my mother. I'm like, just FYI, in a month, I'm moving on the other side of the world. I might not come back.
Oh.
So it was, yeah.
How did your family and friends all take this?
My dad, he's the biggest supporter of my life. He was so happy. He's the one that actually brought Canada, the concept of Canada, into my life. Super happy. My mom, I think, she was a very good actress at the moment.
Oh, really?
It was kind of like super happy,
famous?
But at the same time,
actress.
no.
Sorry,
like
okay,
she was really good at that moment.
Okay.
She was kind of like, it's so great for you. I'm so happy for you.
Yeah.
However, she wasn't that happy that I was.
Sorry, do you have siblings or?
No, I'm an only child.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes it even more. Yeah. Like she's just like, man, you know.
I know.
Like,
and my parents are also divorced, and I used to live with my mom. So it was legit just like me leaving the nest. It was like moving out.
Yeah.
And I think...
Yeah, because it affects her too, right? Because like you're basically maybe her best friend in a way at the same time.
Yeah.
And then...
it's coming home to someone.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, true.
But they were very supportive at first. My friends too. And they always knew. I was always the friend of the group that when I was 16, I went to study in Spain. On my 18th birthday, I moved to Greece to go and work the holiday season there. As I could go get a semester out in Belgium, I just took the chance. So it was always kind of expected of me to not stay.
Yeah.
I think it just came very suddenly.
Yeah.
But the moment I got here, everything for me worked out. And I always want to stress this because I talk about my journey on social media a lot. And there's this conception like, yes, everything worked out for me, but there's this like, oh, you're 1 in a million. Which I think it's kind of like on one side, yeah, and it's great. It's like so flattering. You're like, yes, I'm 1 in a million. On the other side, explaining that something for you really worked out for some rational reasons, but also like, it just like might have worked out for me because stars aligned. I don't know. I was lucky.
I know, like my dad, as an example, when he immigrated, Calgary also wasn't his choice, right? It's kind of like the same thing, but he got brought over here because of a lot of like oil and gas jobs are being advertised, like over in Hong Kong and stuff. But But same thing, my dad even said he was like it was just destiny. Like the move here, he didn't land in Calgary right away. It was Red Deer, I believe, first, and then he transitioned over to Calgary quite quickly after that. But even, you know, he was just like, it was just like he was meant to come here. There was something, I don't know, he believes in as spiritually at that point, because it was like it, because every other place and choice selection was still random at that point. But for some reason, that is the one, and it didn't seem that random, you know. So I don't know, you know, it's yeah, and obviously, like, not obviously, but a lot of Italians, you guys are all pretty religious, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah. Like
per se, I don't come from a really religious family, so it's weird for us to say, oh, you were like, it was meant to be because of God. Like it was never part of my life, to be honest. But I have a very spiritual mother, so she does believe in something greater, and that's how she actually raised me. The fact that just trust that sometimes your intuition is there, and it's very different, like instinct or intuition. She's like, intuition, it's your gut feeling. It will guide you somehow. If you are not sure, you will understand that sensation. And that's how I felt when I got here. The first, even like 48 hours, 72 hours that I was here, I felt it. I was like, I don't know how to explain this.
Did you feel like home right away almost?
Yeah, I don't even know if I like felt like home. I just felt like I belonged here, that it was the right choice for me to pick this city and this place. And I think a part of that then also brings you to actually maybe believe in that more and make it work for yourself more. Because again, luck plays a part, but you have to make it work. But it just felt like such a strong feeling of things are gonna be good from now on. So again, you have that 1 in a million kind of thing.
How are you certain things are going to be good though? You know, like, just because what I'm saying is just because it's someone, you know, you have this feeling of destiny that took you to a place. Sometimes that destiny is because it's your destiny, but doesn't mean it's good, you know. No, like, absolutely, you know, it might just be, that's just where you end up because that's your role to play, right? I don't know, but but things have been going super good when you got here, eh?
I think it was, and let me be very honest, the first 3 months, they weren't that easy. Like I'm just gonna like drop the bomb. I almost got kidnapped like
in Calgary?
2 months in. Yeah.
What?
The guy was actually arrested for trafficking like a month and a half after. So it wasn't like, oh, you came here, everything is fantastic, everything is great. It was, I think, the attitude that I had at that moment, I felt like maybe I was brave enough. Maybe something that when you're home.
Like, what do you mean by almost got, like, this guy, were you on a date and then it turns out he was like,
no, I was.
Or did you physically get like thrown into a car?
Almost,
like, holy shit. Like, where?
Yeah. On Center Street. Like,
just randomly?
Very randomly. No, the guy actually, he had been, I guess, stalking me for a bit. I was working in customer service and he was a client, but I was simply and genuinely like a nice human being that if you're paying the bill, I'm just going to be very nice and smile at you so I don't get fired. But one day he waited for me to finish my shift and tried to like block the door when I was going out. And when I escaped, he like followed me and tried to like, he left the car in like, you know, Center Street that has like the 4 lanes.
Yeah.
He left it on like the second to the sidewalk lane. And just like tried to physically like grab me and push me in the car.
What was the plan? I mean, would people have known you were missing? And I don't know.
I was just starting to date my boyfriend at that time. We have been together for almost 6 years now. So I had someone to call, and I actually called him because I managed to somehow just pull away, and I ran away, and I went into a supermarket. There was Safeways on Center Street.
Yeah.
And again, I ran into a girl. Like I legit ran physically into a girl that I met the night before. And I was like, this is happening right now. I need your help. And the guy came into the supermarket with a basket pretending to shop.
Jesus.
So I don't know if maybe it was like sick, obsession. I don't know. But that was kind of like something that put me into perspective. So and that's again, something that I try always to share. I have a really positive attitude towards life. But I don't live in my bubble where everything is great in here. No, I think there's stuff that you need to consider. I was naive because it's another stereotype, but Canadians are all nice, right? Like everyone in Canada is nice, and I come from a slightly more dangerous country.
Yeah. Like I'm kind of shocked to hear this, but I'm also not shocked because I know anything can happen.
Yeah.
I just Calgary's not like, well, Calgary did actually have a trafficking situation that was pretty well known right now. Yeah, it was right of a horror movie. Like,
and I had no idea, to be
yeah.
honest.
So, but that's pretty nuts, man. Like you know, it still reminds me like to be on my toes, because like anything's possible in this life, and yeah, but this was like 6 years ago, where
Almost,
you know, where the city wasn't known to be dangerous, like, you know, so this is a really exceptional bad guy. Like, you know, like,
and again,
walking monks.
maybe it was meant for me to be put in perspective, because in Italy, I wouldn't leave my place by myself at midnight, for example. I wouldn't go to our downtown at 1 a.m. and be by myself, for example. Here, I felt a lot more safe to do that. And I moved here in December. So there was more life around. And when that happened, I was like, wait, one sec. Nothing bad happened to me, other than like, he tried to take me in the car. But at the same time, nothing technically bad happened, other than the big shock. But it put me into perspective, as in, actually, maybe get back on your toes. Like, it's safer.
Are you trained in any martial arts or anything? Or
I started last year actually to train in Muay Thai, but it's a little now, yes.
Okay.
But at the time,
you're not afraid to like throw a punch right into the chin.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm absolutely not. I will. I'm a very
Okay, good. Well, I'm curious, what happened to this guy? Did you call the police on him?
We called the police, and since he was a customer, we saw if he was coming back to the store, the whole thing. The management of the store, they were great. They're like, at today that I don't even work there anymore, they're my friends. But he came back once, and we took the license plate and figured out he actually came back twice. Once was a rental, one was a stolen car.
Jeez.
So it was actually very shady.
Man, so this guy just like had it out for you. Like,
I'm not sure. I don't even know if it was just for me, because then someone else spoke up. Like, not going into much detail, but like some other girls brought up that this guy used to make them uncomfortable and everything. It was mostly just that probably my personality is very bubbly, and I chat with everybody at that time, not thinking that someone might have bad intentions.
Yeah.
Now I'm almost 30. I'm like, if we're talking, I'm always gonna maybe second guess the conversation.
Yeah.
But at the time, again, I was new to the country. I thought that everything was fantastic.
Man, this story alone is like a podcast on its own.
I know.
You know, like, because of just, I don't know, I'm just kind of in shock a bit. Okay. All right. But carrying on, you like, that didn't deter you from like loving this city, right?
No, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I'm very stubborn and very driven. So I'm like, you know what? Yeah, this happened. I'm going to make it work even better now. So I was working as a cashier in a grocery store.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like, every immigrant will tell you that you got to start from like the bottom, because otherwise you're not going to get your sponsorship and all of that fun immigration paperwork that you actually need to stay here.
Yeah.
But that made me even think more like, okay, what can I do to stick around? What should I do to make this experience even better?
To continue progressing through your story here, like, how did you eventually get into marketing and begin your marketing career?
It was a little bit me trying to get what I want. It started with the social media aspect. So when I started in this Italian grocery store, which is the one that gave me the sponsorship. So it all went back to, you're Italian, we need someone that speaks Italian. And you also speak other languages. Fantastic. We have a very European clientele. We need your help. And the first thing I did, because I was coming from a PR background, I went to check their social media. And right now, probably in 2024, it would have been so much more complicated. But in 2018, they had a really small page, not well curated. I'm like, you know what? I love taking photos. I love photography. I love social media. I'm a social media girl. What if I help you? I'm not asking you to do anything more for me. What if you let me take some photos to your events and stuff like that? And the general manager at the time, he just got faith in me. And he's like, yeah, I need help. Let's see what you can do. In the meantime, I was getting sponsored. So I had to stick to my role, because when you're starting your sponsorship in a certain role, you can't really change it because the government will audit you.
Okay.
But on the side, I was doing this. And that was, 2018, 2019. And then in 2020, the company expanded. And he asked me, he's like, what if we create a marketing department? What do you think? I'm like, yes. Whatever it is, give it to me. Like, I want to see what the challenge is going to be. And he's like, you know what? We need like a website. We need more social presence. We need to build like an influencer program, all of that. And I just took it on and built the marketing department. And the moment I started doing that, something clicked. I'm like, I was meant to do this. This is so fun. This doesn't feel like work. I love my job. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
And from that, we grew the marketing department to become a marketing team. The social media like went very, very well. And then
sorry, my short-term memory is just gone here. But
Yeah.
what company was this line of work that they just kind of asked you, or you volunteered initially to do all their socials for? Like what?
I was, let's say that like the company, I can say the name, right?
Whatever you want.
Okay.
Or you don't have to say the name if you don't want. You can describe it. Like just what industry was this?
It was a grocery store.
Okay.
So it was Lena's Market.
Okay.
Very easy. Like we went from one location to 4 locations together.
Yeah.
And I can say their name because they helped me so much. And I'm super, super grateful of the whole experience. Like one of my best friends still works there. Again, GGM believed in me so much that I managed to actually grow in that that environment.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know anyone at Lena's Market, so I think right, because we talked off air, and that's still that mutual name you just mentioned does not ring a bell, but
all good.
But okay, but carry on.
Yeah. So I just kind of like volunteered, knowing that for everything there's purpose somehow. And you know what, if it could work, it couldn't work, I didn't know at that time. I just, again, give it a try.
What were you because like I'm big into mindset manifestation stuff. Like what were you internally like? Were you very optimistic no matter what, and you just felt so it's like, hey, like everything will work out and I'm just doing this? Like you didn't have any oh man, I might be not good at this social media thing, even though I love it, like it's like you just like, did you always just I don't know, like, because it sounds like it could have been anyone who hired you on, and you would have discovered that, hey, I'm into taking photos and branding branding things and making people like aware, so
I think I'm optimistic by nature. I'm a new optimistic, actually. I think I was an optimistic after my university days. I wasn't like super optimistic as a teenager. I always saw somehow like a negative side, but I live by the philosophy that like life gives you what you can handle. And I truly believe that if you see an opportunity that comes your way or an opening and you think you can make it work, then it will work.
Do you think life, like, it gives you what you can handle, but then it has to make it so you can't handle something, so you grow so you can handle more, right?
Absolutely.
Do you think it incrementally throws challenges at you to like, but do you believe that this is do you believe there's like a cosmic pattern through everyone's life, like that the universe orchestrated this way, or do you believe in God? Like,
I think I believe in, I don't know if I believe in God per se, but I believe in like energies. Like I think that the moment you put yourself out there with a certain energy, with a certain mindset, then you might also be more inclined to see the good things coming to you.
What if I'm always super interested on people's approach to positive thinking, because like, what if, I don't know, just using an example, like what if everything's going wrong around you, and because the positive thinking manifestation advocates have all explained, you have to maintain that positive energy, even when everything's actually going backwards and going to hell, really, and I think about that sometimes, because like I think that is actually the main missing ingredient towards consistent success by almost everyone, I think, because most people, it's easy to be positive when things are going good, but how do you stay positive like when things aren't going good? But it sounds like you have to just use your faith, imagination, and internally you have to almost just create that feeling, even though on the external everything is going wrong. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's almost like creating the feeling that you won even when you lost, right?
Yeah.
But other people might look at you like you're being like deluded, right? Because it's almost like I don't know, like say you're playing a sport and you lost that game, but you still feel like a winner. You felt like you won that game, and then everyone will be like, "Oh, this guy's just crazy. He just convinces himself that he won something when clearly he lost." But that actually is the game. I'm starting to think, because sorry if I'm going on a little rant here,
Oh,
but
no, please.
like as an example, like I do study a lot of like history and like war stuff. I don't know why I gravitate towards that stuff. I just do. But I really thought about it, like during World War II, you got like Winston Churchill, and he's like like there was periods where it looked like, like Britain was going to get just totally annihilated, right? But he just kept telling everyone like, that crazy speech where he's like, yeah, we'll fight in the air, we'll fight in the sea, we'll fight in the land, like, and ultimately, like he was part of the Allies and they won, right? Yeah. So I'm kind of like really something I've been just paying attention to a lot, because right now I notice the world, like everyone's going through a tough time. It looks like, it's like everything's just really, really edgy and on the edge of total collapse. It looks like,
just a little bit.
Yeah, and but it seems like to maintain that, I'm not saying be positive as in la la la, everything's great. I mean, like, like positive as in just still visualize the end. Like you got what you wanted, which is like in the end, peace, purpose, consistent, joy, happiness, wealth, money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right.
100%. And that's exactly it for me.
So it sounds like that's what you did.
Yeah, 100%.
In your entire traveling over here.
I'm not like, again, I'm super honest. I didn't have the easiest childhood, didn't have the easiest like teenage years. And I think my survival mechanism was actually to build this internal happiness, to always have something to look forward to, no matter what. Yes, the world is not a great place. Things go wrong, 100%.
So when these things were going wrong, and you just said you're just focused on something to look forward to, that really caught my ear there. Like, so say things are going wrong, like personally or whatever, but you just decide like, you know what, I'm still gonna look forward to taking that photo tomorrow. Or like, like, is that what you mean? Or do you just visualize more as in,
I'm trying to do both.
It's all going to be fine? Because like I have this one friend, he just always says everything will work itself out. And I see him shift in that mindset, and he just kind of lets go.
Yeah.
And he just starts watching hockey or whatever, even though literally chaos is going on around him. And it's funny, this friend of mine, he's just, things always do ultimately work out for him. And because I've seen him get out of some really bad situations that I think normally I would have, using pure logic and reasoning, I would have thought, no way you can just stay positive right here, but he did. And it's like, it's years later, it wasn't overnight, but like he's in a really good spot right now. And I'm like, interesting. And I really, because like I actually in the past, I just like, I take risks, but they were so calculated that they may as well not have been risks. Like I'm that guy that's just like, you know what, I'd rather just go for the sure thing. Like instead of taking a gamble, I'll put, instead of gambling on, I don't know, like you can take a gamble on this door, it'll get you your destination in 1 hour. Like I'll be that guy. How do I guarantee I'll be there? Well, you have to open 100 doors. It'll take you 100 hours. So I'll just do the 100 hours instead. Like I used to be that guy, but it only got me so far until I started to take more risks. I don't want to be broad here, but like, it sounds like you were similar because you took risks, but you adopted the positive outlook.
Yeah.
Quite early on.
I think
this sounds like it might have stemmed also from all the hard times as a child and teenager.
It came also for the first year, I think, because your dad probably can tell you that too. And every other immigrant, the first year you have the highest high and the lowest lows. Like the first year might be great sometimes. Some days it really sucks. Like it's really bad.
Were you able to stay positive then?
Yes and no. Because like, I think I developed more of I embraced my positive attitude in the past, like probably like COVID on, like 2020 on a lot more.
Pretty recent then, in a way, this mindset.
Yeah. It's like been a couple of years, 4 years, But I think I always had it in me. It was just a matter of getting to it. I was brought up by my parents and specifically my dad. My dad brought me up saying like, you are someone very special. You're going to become someone one day. You're going to do great things, which on one side can put pressure on you. But when you hear that as a kid, you're like, whoa, he's right. Like you start having that in you, which kind of like goes to sometimes when you're a teenager and you fail because you're a teenager, you're obviously going to fail. And I'm still going to fail as an adult. It puts pressure on you and you're like, oh, maybe I'm not that special anymore. But once I survived, quote unquote, survived the first year, because, you can be very positive and think that the immigration process will go fantastic and everything is going great. And then one day your lawyers calls you and said, listen, there's a pandemic going on. They might stop any work sponsorship. So you got to switch it to family sponsorship. And like, this for me was such a big failure because I came here to work. I came here to make a career out of it. You're telling me that I have to switch and go to my boyfriend that I had been living with for like a year and a half. And I have to go to him and say, so would you be able to sponsor me as your common law partner?
Right.
That was horrible. But I had the conversation with him.
Hey, so when you had that conversation, did he have a little bit of reservation? Like, oh, what if she's just using me to immigrate over here? Sorry, am I getting into details correct?
No.
So your boyfriend lives here.
Yeah, he's Calgarian, born and raised.
So like did he like, although you guys were getting along and everything, like was there any part of him that was cynical? Like he's like, man, what if Fed's just using me?
No.
What if this doesn't work after and she's using me to get the immigration? Like,
he's the most genuine, kind, and good-hearted human being ever. And we also have, and that's why we have a really amazing relationship. We have the most open.
So he
communication.
never doubted you.
Never. We found each other. Again, that goes into the cheesy, like, oh, you made it to Calgary. I think, and
but when you had to bring it up, sorry to interrupt.
No.
But when you had to like bring it up, you know, because it's kind of like, hey, I know we've been together, but you know, like at this point, take it you're not married yet.
No.
And so it was like, kind of need a big ass. I need you to sponsor me. Like, you know, it's like, I don't know. It's just, those situations are always tricky because, you know, you feel like, I don't know, man, it's no different than,
it's horrible to ask.
It's horrible to ask.
Yeah.
It's just no different than anything where someone has an advantage and you need something from them, but you really want them to know, like, this 100%. Isn't coming from a place where I'm trying to manipulate you. It's just like, kind of like, can you do this or not? And you kind of have to do it. Like I can't. So, you know, but you know, it's frustrating when you see, things like that occur. I don't know, man. Like as an example, like this might be kind of segueing off what we're talking about, but when you see like super rich people and they, you know, like it sucks that at that point they have to have prenups, you know, because it's like, well, that really distorts
everything,
the trust, right?
Yeah.
You know, but then they're like, oh, you're silly. And then it's like, oh, but that's the whole essence. And, you know, they're like, oh, you really don't know what you're talking about. If you had my wealth, you would protect it, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, but I'm sitting there like, man, like just, it seems like there's no real, like not to be cynical here, but every time I look at very positive, happy outcomes, there's always a catch.
I'm the same. Like, and that's why sometimes it's hard to share my story. Because even on social media, people will be like, yeah, where's the catch? Or what are you lying about? Mm-hmm. When it came to tell Dan, my boyfriend, this, I was extremely honest. I'm like, listen, the lawyer just called me, which also kind of makes it a bit different because I didn't make it up. My lawyer called me to tell me this. So if you want someone to tell you that it's not certain that they are going to interrupt work sponsorships. However, as my lawyer, she has to bring it up. Because companies will be audited. Some companies are going to shut down. I was in the food industry. I didn't know, because it was still at the beginning, that grocery store would be the only businesses that were open, and people would actually go to grocery stores as, you know, hanging out because they couldn't leave their houses. But I brought it up to Dan and I'm like, listen, she told me this. I'm not asking you to sponsor me. I'm asking you to talk this through and tell me what you think. He's very smart and he's very well-rounded. Like he somehow has a knowledge of so many different things that I can't even explain. Like one of the reasons why we're together is because he's a constant source of learning for me. Mm-hmm. And at that time, again, my career hadn't really begun. So I just asked him, like, listen, what do you think? We already live together. So it's not like we have to fake anything. We have been in the same household for over a year.
Yes. You would think like, I guess it was a no factor for him.
No, he was like
glad to do it.
And he's one of those people that, you know, never really had that long-term relationship, never really cared about relationships. He's always had like, he wanted his own business. He had his own like career. He wanted to.
Yeah, he like the relationship wasn't what he needed to fulfill himself. Yeah.
No, but then we met and he's like, we're not codependent, but we were each other's missing puzzle piece to the equation. Like we are the reasons why all the other relationships we had did not work out. And we are very, very well balanced. He's 10 years older than me. Like I think that's also like something that to factor in. Yeah. He's more mature, and he was the reason why also I adapted so well to this city because he's born and raised here. His friend group is from here. It was he made the transition easy. And when I brought up the subject, he was like, okay, let's walk me through. What does it imply for me? Like, what's it take on me? Are they gonna audit me? Do we have to do our taxes together? Very like rational stuff. Not like, oh, you're gonna play me, but more like, will the CRA say anything about this? And I was like, you know what? Let's go talk to my lawyer. That's the only thing I can tell you. I don't have the answers. I'm not from here. We talked to our lawyer and she basically just said, you know what? My personal suggestion is just to pivot the sponsorship. You're not going to lose anything. However, they wouldn't separate families. So he was like,
sorry, I'll
no,
keep going.
No.
Oh, do you think like this whole process was a test from the universe for some kind of missing characteristic that maybe
interesting
you needed to like get trained through? Because these predicaments, I like we've all been in them, not the exact one, but like I'm kind of noticing a pattern here now. Like whenever you're starting to like evolve yourself, it's like it's not smooth, but it's not only is it not smooth, there's always something that will go wrong that should be pretty predictable and easy to but for whatever reason there's a sprinkle of gazillion little micro factors that will cause it to be this insane battle. You know, I know I'm being cryptic with what I'm saying, but I've noticed it in business. I've noticed it in like manifesting goals. I've noticed it in like competition.
Absolutely.
I don't know, like just any example. Like it's like
it's very interesting.
Yeah, like I mean, like some athletes that I look up to. It's like they have a very important fight coming up, so they have to train for it, right? And it's like the week of the fight, it's like the daughter gets sick.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then, you know, the wife was like, cancel the fight, come to the daughter. And he's like, no, you don't understand. This fight will change everything.
I have to do that.
And like for money and everything, it's like, but that's your daughter. And we have enough money per se. It's like, no, you don't understand. Like this is a once in a opportunity. You know, I don't know. Like as an example, like I don't know if
No, I totally get it. I never noticed the pattern.
But I noticed like it's in everyone's life. Everyone. I'll give you an example again real quick. Like I don't know if you're a pro wrestling, anything, like know anything about pro wrestling? No.
So.
Okay, so there was one wrestler named Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Okay.
Does that name ring a bell at all?
No, it doesn't.
Okay. World famous in the 90s. We're talking about like global icon. If you look him up later, I'm sure your boyfriend will know who he is, especially he's 10 years older than you. Because he's probably my age range there. But anyway, like Stone Cold, he literally won the belt and then he began his run and at the time he literally had a daughter that was born. And he was sitting there like thinking in his head, he's like, well, I'm not a terrible human being, but like I just won the belt and I'm about to be on the run, like the tour. Like, yes, now match. This is time to make the money, the fame, to set it up multi-generational. But so he flew in just to see his daughter get born, held her for a second, dropped her, went back on the plane, and then didn't see her for like 3 years. And then, and he explains like, it was the weirdest thing because he's like, I don't know how that landed on because he wasn't scheduled to, because wrestling, it's orchestrated, but he's like, he wasn't scheduled to become the champion from what he knew for another few years. But then this opportunity came right when that came and he had to make a choice. And he said it was the hardest thing he ever had to do, but he, you know, and his wife like actually divorced him over that because he was like, you're so selfish and blah, blah, you don't value family. But he's like, he realized, he's like, I have a duty to not just himself, but like the world, because he ended up becoming like Stone Cold Steve Austin, world famous. And like, but then someone's daughter had to get sacrificed that love of the father, you know, and then like grow that resentment. I don't know. It's like, it takes a lot of mature selflessness to really see the bigger picture. And we're all guilty of sometimes succeeding at being selfless and sometimes not. And it's disappointing whenever you reach these areas where you can't be selfless, you know, you've reached essentially, you realize what you're made of and you're like, I have to do this. Just like you, like say Dan wanted to like make it a little more complicated for you to get the immigration thing, you might have had to press him on it because like maybe you were like under a time crunch. I don't know.
I don't think I wouldn't have though.
Okay.
I would have just said to my lawyer, you know what, if I can do a family sponsorship, no resentment for Dan, we're still gonna be together. If the work sponsorship doesn't work, then it wasn't meant to be for me to be here, but we'll make it work.
Interesting. That just, again, man, you have two little nuggets that just stood out. Accepting that it wasn't meant to be.
If it's not,
yeah. But you always still would have kept a positive outlook.
Oh yeah,
that something better is coming. And,
absolutely. I tell everyone the same.
Sorry to interrupt again. Do you believe that it's something better for everyone or just for you? Like when you have these.
I think, and that's just again coming from a place now where I can focus more on me. I think it's a positive attitude that everyone should have, but also focus on yourself. Because the moment you better yourself and you become the person that you're supposed to be or that you want to be, then you're going to do good to the ones around you. But I spend years thinking about just like everybody else, what they're going to think of me, or what if someone else needs my attention, needs my support, needs anything from me. And now I got to a point and then is the actual same, where we are great together, but as individual, we're great people as well. So if we were to go our own way, we would be good. Probably before the pandemic, before I actually started my career, started like to have my business and everything, it would have been a lot tougher. But I always had in me what we were talking about before, something to look forward to, and something in me that said that no matter what, things will be okay. Because you can see life in two ways, that life sucks and you're always going to have something bad happen to you. Or you can just think that life is actually great and you're lucky to be alive and somehow good will come. Just find a way to see it or to recognize it.
Did your man, this one's definitely kind of like a therapy question, but I'm really curious about it because it like a lot of the viewers and listeners can probably take nuggets of what I'm about to ask and apply it to their own life or kind of gain some more perspective on the matter. But like, did your mom, did she think you were selfish when you decided to move away to the other side of the world?
100%.
Was she a bit like, did you ever think about me and like how this leaves me and like
100%?
Yeah, and like how'd you make peace with that decision and did she accept it right away or did it take a long time for her to accept it? And
I think she knew that I was meant to go somewhere, that I wasn't meant to stay at home again, because it was just in me. I always traveled alone. Like it was just in me to go somewhere. But I also waited until she was in a stable relationship to actually make the big move.
Interesting. So you were selfless in a way. You wait till she was set up.
100%. Okay. Yeah. I became more selfish now that I'm here than aside by myself. But before, I wanted to always make sure that my parents were okay. I was like the grade 8 student, everything always perfect. Golden child. Parents are so happy about you. I still had like my crazy party life. But I had to make sure that everything worked out. And then my mom got into a stable relationship. My dad was married already, and my dad has been married for 20 years. Like he found his soulmate right after the divorce. I'm super happy they're a great couple. My mom was more focused on me because I was living with her. So she was raising me. My dad was present in my life, but I was coming home to her and she was coming home to me. And once she found the right person to be with, then I was like, okay, I can go now. Because you're not coming home to an empty house. There's going to be someone there with you. Little did I know that then during COVID, he actually broke up with her and disappeared. Like she came home, he had packed his like suitcase and left during COVID. So, and she's a teacher. So she was not going to school. She had nothing to do. And that coming home to an empty house still happened. But because I think she had still someone to focus her life on, the kids are living the nest. Like I can focus more on my life now. She resented me less for leaving, but at the same time, I think she was a little bit like, hey, what about me? Like I'm the one that stays here. And I carried that guilt for the first year as an immigrant.
Did you feel truly guilty though, or did you feel like you were just put in a really weird no-win situation? Again, this goes back to the Stone Cold Steve Austin analogy, right? Like your time is now to go travel, but doesn't seem like it's your mom's time to let you go.
Exactly.
And then you realize, you're like, wow, I just come to realize I'll do everything for my parents, but there is a line in this scenario, this is the peak, the tip of the spear. Like I have to make a choice, and you're like, wow, I chose me because of it's my time, like age, this, it wouldn't be the same move if I wait till I'm 30 or whatever. Like, it's like, this is the time. And it's like, man, like that's the weird thing I've noticed is a pattern in life that I noticed with everyone that's ultimately chasing happiness and success.
Yeah.
It's like that are actually trying to chase those two things, like to better themselves, become a higher version of themselves. I've noticed it's so clear now. So that's something I'm almost trying to like continue forming my thoughts on. There's like a reoccurring theme of things I'm noticing on that I might eventually try to like write a book on or something, because like it's almost like because I want to find a place like ultimately where you can just know what you're emotionally getting yourself into when you make these big moves, and just don't hang on to any of the negative stuff, and have total complete peace with it.
Yeah.
And because like for instance, like you literally said, you believe we create the life we want, and I just know now, like more than ever, I think that's the test. The test is that you have to choose a side, and ultimately in the end, the side you choose, it should be you.
Yeah.
Because only with you choosing you, because you are in a way two people, the you that's choosing the you, that's the only way you can bring out the best in you to present to the rest of the world.
100%.
So
but if you go to like the therapy kind of route, my therapist is going to be so happy about this. The first year is one of the hardest because you're fresh to it. So you're trying to adapt to a new country where even if you come here as like a blank page, let's see what I can write on it, you're still used to your own people, your own way of doing things, from the fact that I hear you guys take your shoes off before getting into a house, small things, to the fact that a Christmas party, people are very casual, while Italians, we dress up so much. Little things that then turn into deeper things. And when it came to the guilt, it was from a little bit of letting go of who you are as, the person that you grew up as, because you're adapting to a new country. You're molding yourself into this new person that lives this new life. And the people from back home will recognize you less and less if you don't keep up with them, like friendships and stuff like that. Obviously, we're also growing up. Like I moved here during like probably the most growing up phase of every other human being, which is like your 20s, like early 20s to your late 20s. It's a big change.
Yeah.
But the guilt
You're
for
like a different
me,
person altogether.
completely different person. But the guilt for me came from the fact that my mom is also very vocal, not in a negative way, but she would tell you, she communicates a lot. If she's sad, she will tell you. If she needs to hear you, she will tell you. And the fact that you have 8 hours. So here, when like it's noon, it's 8 p.m. there. So my mornings and their mornings don't coincide, obviously. I know it's an obvious take, but you're not present for a good chunk of their day. And I call my mom and my dad every Sunday. And for me, sometimes it's like, I want a day off. Sometimes I might just want a day off. Yes, you're calling your family, but still it's an appointment that you have every Sunday.
Yeah.
And if I bring it up to her, sometimes she's like, well, I was really looking forward to that. Which on her side, she might not trying to be manipulating. She might actually just like be vocal about the fact that she misses me.
Well, sometimes like this sounds bad, but that might be the highlight of her week.
Exactly. And that like, is it.
And again, that's why I feel like, I don't know, like what I'm about to say is kind of dark, but I think certain people, like I know what I want to say. I'm just trying to tiptoe around it so that I don't get myself in trouble. But, but it's like here, I'm just going to throw it out there. If I have to cut it out. And
let's go.
Yeah. Most of the time I've come to realize, you say that ultimately you believe life is positive, and I'm starting to see it more like, don't get me wrong, like I am positive and I still want to finish my goals, but more and more I'm like leaning towards I don't really want kids, because I don't want to put them through this roller coaster of bullshit. Like someone's like, oh, you don't want to put them through this roller coaster of bullshit. I'm like, trust me, I thought about this for hours and hours and days and days and years and years. It's like majority, I think, of people's lives ultimately are terrible.
I hear you.
When I look around, I'm like, yep, like it's like even the ones who appear successful, it's like there's so much baggage with every decision, and you never really get to enjoy anything. And then even when you do, you're like as in like couldn't, as we'll go into the example with your mom, then the call, like in that example, it's like you're sometimes you gotta be like, man, like can't she just see from my shoes, like I'm adventuring out here, man. Like, I don't have time for a redundant like phone call. Like, can't she pick up more things that will get her excited? Like, like as in like, why do I have to carry even one more piece of like a rope that's holding me back? Like, but that is what it is. It's like, I don't know. It's like but then you're like, well, I'm terrible for thinking selfish. And then that's what I mean by, I'm like, even a gift half the time has a drawback to it. And
it's
sometimes
so
I'm just like, man, let me just finish my life, fulfill my goals. And like, but I don't want to partake in the humanity experiment any further, because I look around and like, I just really think that most people's lives suck. Like,
it's so hard.
It's super hard for me to be optimistic about that.
And that's the
pretty
thing.
sure on that. Like,
I'm not just optimistic, I'm realistic too. Like, yes, I see life as something great. However, right now, I'm just caring about myself. Yes, I have people around me, but I found a balance where I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. If something goes wrong, I can see solutions to my problems. Might take a little longer. But when you, for example, you talk about kids and you throw a kid in the mix, that completely changes everything, because you're not in control anymore. It's easy to see. It's not easy. It's easy for me to see the positive when I'm just thinking about me. It's easy for me to try to talk to Dan about it, or my closer relatives. But when it comes to, hey, you are going to have someone else that you're completely like responsible for and that you can technically really control much of,
well,
it's so much more complicated.
I'll take that up a notch. Like, life is still virtually unpredictable. Like how many human beings are brought up perfect yet turn out horrendous, right?
There's
like
no perfect,
so, like it's just such a gamble to like, like I look at it more like, I really look at it primarily from this lens. I'm like, my empathy is to like not bring people through the bad times that like literally might overshadow the good times. Like, it's like, I don't know, but like, like it's because my brother, for instance, he's opposite. He has 4 kids. Ooh. 4 kids under 4. So he just like, yeah, big family, right? And like, and they seem happy right now, and I'm happy for them. I love being the uncle to all the babies. I really do. I get joy seeing them. But my real questions is like I can pray all I want for good times for them in the future, but I can't control that. I can try to project positivity internally, like, and I can't control that. And hey, who knows? Maybe they become more wise and more world influential than I can ever even fathom. And like, I'm like, wow, like I'm so glad people like that came through this lifetime and inspired humanity to the next level of change or whatever. But I also know, just like a flip side of the coin, this could end very terrible. Like, like I had a family member who, he died of a drug overdose. Right. So it's like his whole life, no matter what happened, geared into that horrible ending, and I'm just sitting there like, like like, that's why I'm like, why even play the game? It's just too brutal when it's brutal. When it's brutal, it's just too brutal. That's the way I see it. But I have a stomach for it now because I've gone through so much shit. So has everyone else. But it's like, but man, I just don't think, unless things get cosmically better consistently that we can see, like I'm like, I don't know. I feel like Earth is way too many people right now that are miserable. Yeah. So it's like and I don't see it getting fixed for the next like 100 years. So I'm like, maybe slow it down. Let's slow it down. Let's just slow it down.
I totally get it. And I also think there's some people that are meant to be parents, some that are not. One of my best friends, she just had a baby. She's the most like human being that I've seen prone to motherhood. Mm-hmm. She was a mother when we were in high school together. That was her. I am career driven, and you can see the difference. Like, I'm not saying I'm never going to have kids, because again, life is unpredictable. I don't know. But for example, last year I just started my business, and I started when I just turned 29. Mm. Technically, if you want to look at an Italian society perspective, I was already late for marriage and kids, because you mentioned it. I come from a very religious country. And even though we're like a little bit more modern, but that pressure is there. Like, why are you almost 30? Like, I'm turning 30 this year. Why are you 30 and you're not married and you don't have kids? Like, you're getting old. And I'm like, actually, I just started a business that I would love to give attention to. I started to finally speak on social without having that little tiny bit of fear of people judging me.
Yes.
Without having...
You're like the Stone Cold Steve Austin. You just found your path. You just got your belt.
I'm starting.
Now you're starting. Like, you're telling me now's the time to like reel all that back and like... I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. It's a tricky one, and it's on my mind a lot. But sorry, keep
No,
going. Yeah.
and I think it's always my
Like
mom or
not
my
kids.
dad.
I mean the greater
It's
theme of existence.
no, exactly. Like, and that's why I think like a lot of people focus on yourself first, because a lot of time is also people pleasing, even when it comes to like accepting a certain job, having kids, even like getting married. It's a lot of people pleasing because of society, because of your parents, because of your family. Like my parents joke about it. They don't really care about me giving them grandkids at the moment. But my dad sometimes is like, so when is a little Canadian coming our way? And I'm like, I can joke about it. And yeah, we'll keep it light. And I do. I'm usually like a very kind of like sarcastic kind of person. But at the same time, I'm like, let's put this in perspective. You would be a long distance grandparent. Like, is it actually going to be fun for you or good? Because you might have like, oh yeah, there's a kid on the other side of the screen, but this little human being will not really know you much, and you're not here. And I wouldn't really have grandparents. I have Dan's parents, my in-laws, but I wouldn't have like a huge support system. So when they bring it up, sometimes I'm like, I just started like to develop my life and my career, and like I finally saw that little like spark coming from me. Support that. But it's in my society too. Like people would always ask you every time I go home. Like Dan and I went home last year. He came with me to Italy for the very first time. And I swear everyone and every like Italian immigrant that lives in Calgary, they're like, do you think he's gonna propose? I'm like, he's coming to see my parents. He's coming to meet my parents. I really hope he doesn't propose. I'm a child of divorce. So marriage, not my priority. But also, we're doing so good together right now. We're in a Kamala relationship. We have been living together for 5 years. I don't need a ring on my finger. I don't need to be engaged. I don't need to get married. But the stereotype is always there. And when I'm trying to like pivot it towards, I would actually want to talk about like my career. Like I'm coming home and I'm giving you my business card. Like it's huge for me. I'm giving you my business card. I left that I was nobody to anybody. And I was a kid. And I'm coming back with this huge news. And also in Italy, you have to go see every single relative you have because otherwise you're rude. And everyone will be like, so, like, are you going to get married in Italy or in Canada? I'm like, I'm probably not. If we're going to get married, we're going to go to just like court, sign a piece of paper, and just have a little party to, if we want to make it more official. Mm-hmm. However, give me like the trip, give me the honeymoon. I'm not going to spend thousands of dollars on one day. Like it's not me. And it's okay if you are that person. Like I deal with brides. They're amazing. There are some girls that are born to be brides and they live for that day, and there's nothing wrong with it. Mm-hmm. But it's just
I fully get what you're saying. Like even though we're in different situations and spots, and it's not, my question is not so much about necessarily meeting tradition. It's just like, see, like you're on this path now, but why is this the other thing you have to deal with? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, but sitting here and complaining about the whys and stuff doesn't solve much anyway. But that's why I just keep as busy as I possibly can, because like after this conversation ends, like on this podcast, I probably won't think about this exact topic because I'm going to be just running around doing whatever. Yeah. But it's weird sometimes where, like, it's like, man, like that's what I mean by, I'm like, I don't know, like I'm not exactly necessarily having a good time in life, because I'm like, every time there's a good moment, it comes with 30 pieces of weird, unexpected shit to deal with that's like, that just ruins it. It just ruins it. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, man, like, but what are my other choices? Sit around, do nothing, and just meditate forever, which I've contemplated. But but it's like, which is actually what Buddhists actually push you towards doing. Hey,
no, but I see it. Like, how can I put it down? Like, okay, you say there are like 30, like there's like one really good thing, and then there's like 30 things that might go wrong, or they're like, they're not the best. The way that I approach it is like, I'm very much focused on that good thing. I have more good things that are connected to that or to something else that I tend to screen.
But you feel good though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm saying, me, if I was in that, I don't know, you're the same though in way. Like sometimes you have guilt, and you're like, I feel good, but not as good as it could be. no holds barred, like just raw embracing, like it's kind of like my moment, or just I don't know, but it's tricky, man, because like I have a friend who introduced me to have you heard of Muji? Mooji?
No, I
So
haven't.
Muji is he's a Jamaican European. He's like 65, long dreads. He's kind of chubby in the belly. He literally looks like a Jamaican Buddha, like and but that's what he is. He's a spiritual leader who essentially teaches everyone to awaken, as he calls it, into pure consciousness, which is like he hosts these events called satsangs, where people gather in large rooms and they just meditate together off of a guided meditation. But he explains kind of like what I was explaining, and but because he's saying like if you live life long enough, you start to notice everything has a catch, and you just want that everlasting peace, right? And then he's like, so one method is to follow him in his satsangs and like and awaken your mind to realizing your consciousness is the only thing that matters. But I don't know, but when like I see where it's kind of going from, because a lot of religions all kind of guide towards that kind of like last journey of the leg of the journey in everyone's like adventures through life. But every now and then I'm also just like, I think that's for the people who got defeated by life, though, and then that's when I'm a little bit like, but then I don't want to disrespect the satsangs, because I do still also practice them from time to time. Like, and so I don't know, but lately right now, it's just interesting, because like I don't know, when I talk to my guests, I don't know necessarily which direction it'll go. Like I have a little couple bullet points, but today this like segued into this because because it naturally did, because I'm talking to someone who solely came here and is like all in on herself, right? You know what I mean? Like, like, so it's like every other guest, I haven't had that yet out of the 100 some podcasts I've done. So it's like it's just interesting how it triggered this part of my understanding of life, so that's also why I love doing this. Like, because every time I talk to someone, people, because people are like, how you talk to a stranger for an hour and a half? I'm like, it's a lot more fascinating than you think, and like, just kind of just listen to some of my pods, like, and sometimes they're just fun where we're riffing around. But it sounds like I met someone in you, Fed, that you have an internal, like, it will appear this way anyway, like you have an internal optimism that is part of your makeup, so it's like deeply rooted. So it's fascinating to meet someone like that, because I don't have that. I really don't have that.
If you ever need optimism, just cross the street.
Yeah, sure.
But it also comes, I think, with a little bit of an internal decision as well. Like, and I'll give you the dumbest example, probably social media.
Yeah.
Every time I put out a video, and again, we're not talking, like, I'm not an influencer. I don't have a lot of followers. I just like try to help people.
You might eventually. I mean, you never know. You still got to do it.
You can never know. Exactly. Yeah. I just want to be like genuine enough. And social media is so freaking hard on your mind.
It can be toxic as fuck.
It's so toxic. And I see both sides, right? Because I help people with social media when I'm the one giving you directions to it. And I can try to like strategize it and find like the best hook, how the algorithm works, yada, yada, yada. And then I'm trying to apply that to my own, which doesn't always work, because when you're your own person doing it, or maybe you try and it works. And one of the comments that drives me absolutely insane is, you're such a fraud because you speak really good English. You have no Italian accent. This is bullshit. Like, you're not real. Like, you're just making this up. You just want attention. You're not a real immigrant. You're not Italian. Like, you don't know anything about Italy.
These are some of the comments you got?
Yeah.
Holy.
And I'm like...
Yeah, I got some pretty bad ones too, actually.
I was like, Jesus.
So, yeah.
Like, why? And I get it. Social media, there's so many, like, just little sad people that are so frustrated. And the only thing they can do is just type a mean comment. And you can try to, like, not get it to you. But that's a part of me that, because it's part of my job and it's part of something that I would like to do. And it also has a good like end, because I'm trying to help people. Like, I helped 4 people from my own region and nearby, and 2 other people from Italy to come here. I didn't sponsor them or anything. I just gave them my information, how I lived, my experience. They made it here. 3 stayed, 4, one went to Vancouver, 3 went back home because it wasn't their experience. They're like, thank you, because at least I gave it a try. And you have that positive, and you're like, I'm just going to focus on that. because the 3 people that are here, they might be on the same or a similar journey that the one that I have. And it was so nice to see it. But then you're like, oh, you're not authentic. Like, I studied English since I was in kindergarten. I spent my life learning languages. And now that I actually use your slang, I use your like Canadian accent, like I hear my voice going up at the end of the sentence. You're telling me that I'm a fraud after I put all of this work into actually perfecting this.
You know, and it's honestly whether or not you believe it, or you think there's a fragment of truth, or like, or maybe sometimes you're just straight annoyed that someone took the time to bring such negative energy. Yeah, it's like I don't know, but this is something I also know though. The same people who wrote those negative things, they're fickle.
Yeah.
Because the next minute they can actually love and respect your work. Like it's like, and we're all like that. Like I've had pro fighters that I'm a huge MMA fanatic, by the way. Like
I got that a little bit.
Yeah. Like there's fighters that like I was like, man, I hate this guy. I hate his personality. I hate his fighting style. I hate his origin story. I hate what he's trying to promote as far as like what his message is for fighting. But then yet, I don't know, I'll see another fighter who's 99% the same as this guy, but for some reason, I just like the way his voice sounds.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I like this one, and I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, man, we're fickle. That's why, again, I'm like, the human experiment sucks.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, man, we should just slow it down.
But here's the main difference.
Too many people, like too many misery, like too many, like, and I ask myself often, like why can't I be more consistent all across the board on my perspectives on things? And I just realized I can't, because the world is so flavorful right now.
There's no consistency.
It's
so hard to be consistent.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you might not like someone and you might like someone more. 100%. There's one reason why we follow who we follow.
And sometimes it's moment to moment.
Yeah.
Literally moment to moment. And including yourself too. Like, it's like, there's moments where like I hate myself. And then the moments I love myself, and I'm like, holy shit, like I'm the man.
How does it work? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and I have to like, and then the moments I hate myself, I know why. But then I also am like, but that's me. So if that's me, then shouldn't I embrace it and just stop hating, you know? Like,
I totally get it.
It's such a weird trip to continue to journey through, like understanding myself or whatever, you know, and it's a never ending thing. And sometimes I do get like fed. I do get pretty fucking tired. And I'm just like, man, like I'm like someone like it. Sometimes I'm like, if someone had a gun and they shot me tomorrow, I don't think I'd be as sad as everyone thinks. You know, that sounds so dark, but like only if they did it though. Like I would never do it to myself. No.
But would you, like, even when you don't like someone, it's like when you don't like yourself, you don't go to like a mirror and be like, oh, you're a fucking idiot. Like, you're so stupid. You're so ugly. Would you go to someone else's page, like to the MMA fighter, and say like, you really suck?
Nope. I've never done that. I've never commented on anyone's page anything negative.
That's why I don't understand.
Because I'm already of the knowledge, like, hey, you took the time to put yourself out there. We can all kind of perceive your flaws. Trust me, I already know internally you're beating yourself up over it. So like my I'm just gonna spread some positivity, or just show that I saw you. That's it.
Or ignore.
You know, like, or ignore, yeah.
Because that's the thing that blows my mind. And that's with my clients too, which is so tricky, because when you have clients that you're accountable for, you have to make sure that you avoid certain topics, a certain way of like approaching things. And most of my clients are businesses. So it's not really personable. Like, there's no opinions. You're selling a product. But when it comes to my social media, if I say, I think, sometimes I'm like, oh no, I have to delete this. I have to like be more generic. And I'm like, no, actually, I'm not telling anybody that they're bad or anything. I'm just trying to give you my own perspective. But people are made to attack you somehow.
And people are made to like only process parts that's useful to them.
True.
You can write a paragraph that made complete poetry and so wise, but someone might have only caught 4 sentences of it and then just decided like, fuck this fat girl. Yeah. You know, like it's just so weird. Like, and that's why I don't know. I don't have a solution, but like I think the world's in trouble right now. I do think we're in a very dark spot, and like I see it everywhere. And it's like, and I think it's a trajectory towards another global war this time. Like, because I don't know, it just seems like something's off. You know, but I mean, I'm not trying to be too negative here. Like, there are still good days, man. You know, like
I get it.
But it's just weird. Like, you know, it's just like one thing you said a moment ago that kind of like again got my attention, where you said, I don't have that many followers. I'm like, you basically just started, right?
Yeah.
Like go easy. Like, I don't have that much followers. And if that's a metric, like, but I podcast still as if I believe like 1 billion people are going to watch this.
Exactly.
You know? Like,
and that's exactly the approach. And that you're manifesting it. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
there's
You know?
a billion people watching me.
And there's just loads of people that always like make comments about like the way we produce our show versus them, like because some people have they're true whatever, like they're into cameras and stuff, right? Deep down, like I don't really care about all that.
Yeah.
Like I'm okay with this even being 360p. Like it's like I'm not, because a podcast, like how long can you stare at two people talking, right? The reality is you just really want to see how they look, get a good glance, get a couple facial angles, then you can go on to listening to the conversation, right?
Exactly.
That's the way I am anyway. I don't watch Joe Rogan talk to someone for 3 hours. I always spot through, get a couple facial reactions, read some body language, then I zip back out. Like, but other people are just like, man, you gotta make it more like a movie, blah blah. I'm like, the more you try to stick your hands into this pot, makes me not want. This gets me less excited to because like at the end of the day, what's the foundation of this podcast is the conversation.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's not the production. You know,
No.
like I hate how people who are targeting just production all the time. I'm like okay, man, like we'll get you more views. I'm like, okay, like that's the reason why I'm humoring it, but at my own pace, and at the same time, like I didn't get into making podcasts to make money from podcasting. Like I'd be doing this for free.
Yeah,
I love this. Yeah, I love this. Like when else would you and I have talked like this?
No, exactly. That's exactly it. That human connection, which on one side you're losing with social, you're bringing it to someone maybe like driving to work. You're in their car, you're substituting to their radio. Or like I listen to podcasts every day, like getting ready. And I listen to podcasts where you kind of never know how the conversation is going to go. And that's how you actually learn. And even if it's like a celebrity, you're like, oh, I'm listening to this podcast because there is XYZ on it.
And there's so many factors to that one too. Like podcasts too are true. Well, not well, like a lot of people getting fake now on podcasts and you can spot it, but I love watching a guest go on multiple podcasts.
Got it.
Cause I like for instance, everyone who ever goes on Joe Rogan, and for people who like Joe Rogan, love Joe Rogan as much as I do, like Joe brings out the best in those guests because he's such an experienced man. So but like he knows how to guide the conversation. Like they come out looking really, really awesome. But then you watch them on some other podcasts, those same guests, you're like, oh, wait a minute. Like, like that was your A level moment at that point in time.
Yeah.
And then you start to see like there's like I like he has this one co-host guy like Brendan Schaub, not co-host, like he's an ex-fighter as well who's on the show many times. But when Brendan's on the Rogan podcast, he's so entertaining with him. Yeah. When you see him on his own podcast, he's toxic as fuck.
Right.
Just talks negativity, like harping on people, like everything's just like drama. And like and then people are like, how's Joe friends with this guy? And then but Joe's like, well, that's not his interaction with me. And I'm like, wow, this is interesting that we have we can see all this. Like, because in the past, like how many people before technology, before this, how many people do you interact with that you're like certain great guy, he's a great guy. He's a great guy with your dynamic.
Exactly.
And then, but you see their dynamic elsewhere. And it's like,
in real life,
including yourself too. And like, and a lot of people aren't privy to their own behaviors. Like,
and that's the thing. It's also so different the way that you interact with another person, or like how the conversation can spark or change.
Yeah.
Or like you feel comfortable sharing different things with the other person.
And that's why podcasting is so amazing, because there's just so many expressions of the layers of the person,
exactly.
Right?
But that's how I run my personal business. And that's how I think I was and I am successful at my job, because there's 1,000 marketing agencies, marketing jobs, marketers. Like it's one of the most popular words since like we started working from home, or people started working from home, because I never did because I was in the food industry. But marketing is everywhere now. My approach is I'm going to be very personable, not to manipulate you to like me, but because I really care about you, what you think. I really care about like that genuine connection, that I have your back. It's your job. I'm not here to tell you how to do it. I'm here to support you, to make you succeed. I will suggest what I think might be better. If you are someone in fashion and you're telling me, I want to do a fashion show, I'm going to be like, okay, you know what? Let me take a look at how many people are doing fashion shows. Because if you're like another fish in the sea, then it might not make sense. Let's do something different. However, you're like, Fed, this was my dream. Fuck yeah, let's do it. Like, we'll make it happen. And that's how I think that's my biggest, I don't want to call it superpower, but that's my take on these 6 years in Canada. I went from this new little person that didn't know everybody and just, kind of like wobbled around in this new life, to now have a gigantic network of people that I can call and I can bring together. I put together events for my jobs and my clients, and I just have to make a phone call. I don't have to put together a PR package. I can just like, hey, Shawn, do you want to come? I have this tomorrow. And it's never going to be a, sorry, I can't. It's like, you're inviting me. I'll be there for you. And that's like my biggest take on these 6 years. It's not just, I know a lot of people are like, oh, Canada is just to make money because people come here for that. Sure, it's a great purpose to have. But for me, the network that I created around me and my chance of connecting the people inside my network, it's so rewarding and it makes me feel so good. And it's done not with like a bad intent, but to actually like do some good for other people. And that's something that I think is very also typical to Calgary. That's what like Calgary like left me with.
Yes. Yeah. Calgary does. Oh, by the way, Federica, we do have to wind us down here. I was planning to go an hour and we ended up chatting way past that. Yeah. No, I'd love to have you on the show again, or looking forward to you doing your own podcast, because I know you're heading that direction. Obviously, like I'm running a podcast rental business as well, so if you need studios right here. But any which way you do it, like you're definitely very like chatty as well in a good way. So it's like, which is what a podcaster needs to do.
Yes.
So it's like definitely. I lost my train of thought. I have one more question for you, but it completely escaped my mind right now. Either way, your work, it's going to be in the show notes. So I'm going to put all your social media stuff in the show notes there. And how do people like? Do they just reach out to you on Instagram if they want to get some of your marketing services, or do you reach out and find clients?
Goes back to manifestation. The moment I decided that I was ready to try something else, 3 people reached out in the span of a week, being like, hey, you don't work at that business anymore. There's no more conflict of interest. I need some help on this. Do you mind helping me?
Nice.
Same, twice. And I'm like, okay. So, and it comes from a distress situation because I had a different boss at my job and we didn't have a good relationship. And he actually made me feel like I was really not good at my job. And me almost being like,
did you agree with him though?
No, absolutely not. I knew that I was good, but he was like, you're not from here. You don't speak good English. Like it's a backward, like people are telling me I'm a fraud and you're telling me I don't speak good English. Like
I've had that too. Not like with your exact example, but I've had bosses like in one of my old administration jobs, like it was like I worked so badly with one boss, but then I worked so good with another one, and the other one knew how to like bring out my positive qualities
100%.
That like made some serious good contribution. The other one didn't.
Yeah.
And like I kept trying to explain like, hey, like let me do it this way, and then they're like, no, like just hard no's. I'm like, I don't think you understand. Like I can't see how I have more value if I do it your other way, because like I don't have those actual. It's not the way I'm wired or whatever. And then it's just like realizing that other person, that other boss just didn't want things to be harder for them.
Yeah.
They didn't want to like.
It was a selfish thing.
And I was like, man, this is not fit. But I made the paradox. I made more money doing thing with this boss, right?
Yeah,
like substantially more money. So I was like, that's why again I'm like, man, everything has a catch.
No, but I lied to you actually. Yeah, I believed him that it wasn't good enough. I did. But then when someone approached me to actually use me as an external service, I was like, no, you know what, you're wrong. There's people that think I'm good. Let me build this. So it started as a side hustle. Never thought it would turn into a company. I registered my company this year.
Nice.
Last year it was more just like, let's see how it goes. And I never reached out to anybody. Just my network grew. This year I'm actually focusing on getting a logo, a good website and everything, and see how that goes. And I'll link it to my own social media, to the social media of other people. Because again, I go with a very honest and open concept. Like you're getting just me as a person. There's like through social media, I have my marketing email. Obviously, that is how I keep contact with my people. And soon I'll have a better brand. I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you should podcast for sure on top of all that, because like you're going to meet so many people, and you're definitely like, look how long we talked.
I know.
Naturally, there was no
I did
lull.
not think about it.
There was no lull, no pause. Like so, it's like you're definitely have a knack for this. I'm highly, whatever, promoting you to go in that direction. Doesn't have to be with my studio, man. Like, because you can do a podcast anywhere. You really can.
I guess.
Like this room is just nice because it's here, and like you don't have to pay for any equipment. You just plug and play, and and like we're very affordable. $1 a minute. That's it. $60 for an hour. Like
it's crazy.
Federica, I'm winding this down here. Is there anything you wanted to add, or today was a good first conversation with you?
No, I think no, I'm just really happy that we actually got to talk about like the positive, like less of like, oh, you're an entrepreneur and work, but more like the manifestation thing and being positive. Because
people got to learn more about your actual personality, mine too. Again, right? So it's like Yeah, but these
No, I love it.
personalities, yeah, they always are the reflection of everyone else, you know. Like that's why I just feel like everyone should have a podcast, because like if you ever really wonder about someone, you can just kind of tune in. It's like an open diary into their world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, no, I had a great time. Federica, we will. Well, I guess we'll talk more.
For sure.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Perfect. Okay, everyone, have a good night. Bye.